So, as part of, making videos and shit, I often make promises and crap. And then I feel like, shit, I don't want to actually follow through. I don't want to make the video. Yeah, but I must continue. I must go through and basically make good on my promises. And so I shall actually make that Tower of God video. I shall shit it out right here, right now, for your enjoyment. So yeah, generally speaking, it's quite ironic that I would procrastinate on something like Tower of God, given that the whole point of Tower of God is about the nature of, progress and life. The entire tower in and of itself in Tower of God is just a metaphor for life in general. There are many different aspects of the tower that relates to things in the real world and things going on out in the lake, in the real lives. Like, for example, in the very, very beginning of the story, we start out with our main character, 25th Balm, or Bam, 25th Bam, I'm pretty sure. He's in a cave for most of his life. So it's like the Plato cave analogy thing, where it's like, well, if you lived your entire life in a cave and you were in the dark and changed to a wall, your entire perception of existence and of reality would be just that cave and the wall around it, and that would just be your entire perception of existence. And so going into Tower of God, we're very much like Bam, and going into life, that is the same thing. We are just the little boyos, little girlos, or whatever you are, growing up in this world. We know nothing. We're ignorant of everything the world has to offer, and then we enter the tower. The tower is life itself, and we start making our way up the tower, chasing the things that we desire, for better or for worse. And that could be said, or it could be said that is the general idea, the general gist of Tower of God on a meta level. In terms of like the actual world and the story, it is fucking hot, man. It is great. I would call it like the Hunter x Hunter, or the One Piece of webtoons in essence. It's long and it's got a huge cast and a huge world. Each floor of the tower is estimated to be the size of the entire North American continent, but it's like stacked onto over 130 floors that we know of. It's implied through the story that the tower goes farther up. So it is actually many, many times the size of our own world, and we're only seeing a fraction of what the tower has to offer. Generally speaking, the thing I really fucking love about Tower of God is just the general sense of like, you're in, like, as I mentioned before, this massive world with the large fucking cast that come in and out based on their association with the main character. And it really gives you this sense that, Bam is not the only individual of importance in this world. He's not like the only person who has a story and who has like their own goals and missions. And these people are the characters that Bam ends up getting to know and learn about and like befriend. These are people on their own journey up the tower. They're their own main characters in a sense. They've got their own legends going on, and they simply attach themselves to Bam and like help him and go through the tower when it's like, as far as like it's convenient, and then maybe circumstances causes them to like not be around each other anymore. That is the nature of Tower of God. So you've got like a cast of characters being cycled out, in and out, but nobody's ever truly gone forever, right? You'll see as you go up the tower that old characters and old faces reappear in the story with new perspectives and new accolades to their name. And it's just a really great feeling. It just feels so immense and so grand. in a sense, with so much story and lore. Another aspect that adds to this is just the feeling of legend throughout the entire narrative. Just the general sense that this is a world that is so old, and many people, because in Tower of God, characters can basically slow down their aging to like a crawl, and if you actually get to a certain floor, like above like the 100th floor or so, you gain immortality and shit. So there are characters that are thousands of years old and legendary figures that are still alive, that make their appearance in the story, and just how there are so many little secrets and interesting aspects towards the history of the tower that reveals themselves throughout the narrative. It's the idea of like, imagine if somebody like Alexander the Great was still alive today, or Napoleon Bonaparte, or freaking King Tut, or somebody like that. Some ancient figure from like the past was still alive today, and they were like making fucking podcasts or like writing a book about, oh yeah, you know, 100 years ago this is how things were, and like this is what I was doing or whatever. Like it's like that, and it really adds an interesting flavor to the world of Tower of God, because in a lot of other series with legends and myths and whatever, it's like all of those things happened so fucking long ago, and they're tangentially just related to events that are happening in the present, and you just need to know these things so you can understand and be invested in what's going on in the story in that current moment. But in Tower of God, it's not just a legend, it's the backstory of characters that appear in the series. And through these backstories and through these legends, you also get to see that like a lot of these characters, they change and they grow as they go up the tower, some for better, some for worse. There are characters that were like murderous, genocidal assholes in the past, and then in the present, they're like, all right, they're at least helpful to the main character, Bam. And it's an interesting thought or idea, generally. Another thing being its like power system and things of that nature. Like I know Shinzo, or like the power system in Tower of God, it gets some, or I've heard people basically describe it as being very complicated, and to be fair, it is. Like, it takes some time to really understand, but when you understand how everything works in the story, it feels extremely rewarding. And I'd say that's the entire vibe of Tower of God. It's very long, it's very full of a variety of different characters, it's got a lot of different concepts and ideas that are just packed into itself, but it's such a rewarding read. And I highly recommend, if you're not familiar with Tower of God, not from like the anime or from the webtoon, I highly recommend giving it a chance. I know the anime sort of got this whole thing for oh, it's overrated, because Tower of God fans were really excited to see Tower of God finally get animated, and I totally understand why, because the original webtoon is just such a fucking amazing series, such an amazing story. So that excitement generally just generates like over expectations. But I highly recommend just giving it a chance, especially in terms of like the webtoon, because there's just so much to love about it. And it, generally speaking, it was like one of my gateways into actually reading manhwa or like webtoons and things like that, because before reading it, I didn't really give it that much of, or give webtoons that big of like a shot, just because I'm like, it looks different, it's weird, I don't know if I like this or whatever, right? You know, basic things that like a person would feel when they're confronted with a very new thing, something that's influenced by manga but not like the same, you know, it feels different generally. But eventually I did give it a chance, and I don't regret it. I literally fucking spent like over I don't even know how long. It was like weeks. Like my entire free time while I was at home during the pandemic. That was just what I did. I read fucking Tower of God. That was my entire fucking free time. I read it to the point where I was actually starting to feel a little bit burnt out by it, but I'd still pick it up and fucking read it just because it was just so fucking entertaining. It's the good shit, right? And it's similar to how Tower of God has the analogy of the tower scaling and the tower being a metaphor for life and growth and improvement. The same can be said about the series as a whole, especially in terms of art style. Personally, I'm not one of the people who says like, oh, the art style was really, really bad in the beginning. Personally, I don't think it was that bad. I think it has its charm to it. I think it's charming in its own way, and I think it definitely proves that like you don't need to be a fucking master level artist to tell a story with your drawings and whatever. And as the series goes on, you see his art improve, or the creator, you see his art style, his work improve so fucking much over the course of the story. It's definitely an example of just evolution of art style and evolution of skill in terms of like creative work. So if you like that too, definitely give it a shot. But yeah, that's generally what I wanted to say. If you're really feeling some of the stuff I said here, again, I keep saying this, but just give it a shot. I don't want to overhype it or anything like that. Like just read it and then give your own assessment. Keeping it real, keeping it chill. But yeah, that's generally what I had to say. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed listening to me talk about Tower of God, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be doing a lot more content like this because this generally seems to be what I'm comfortable doing and what people seem to like from me. So I'm like, yeah, I got to please the people. More unscripted weird rambles. Let's go. All right, Isekai Defense Force Commander Jade out.